A small business owner woke up one morning, opened his laptop, and saw a notification in his email. His payment processor had frozen his account. No phone call, no warning, no explanation. Just a message that said his funds were being held and that he should expect to wait up to 90 days. The money he needed to pay his suppliers, to pay his employees, to keep the lights on. Gone.
Welcome. My name is Chanse and I am a credit card processing professional based out of New Orleans. I represent multiple top processing firms, and I have spent years in the trenches of merchant services, helping real business owners understand what payment processing actually is, and more importantly, what it can do to you if you're not paying attention. I do not work for one processor. I am not here to sell you one product. My job is to understand your business and match you to the right setup so that when something goes wrong, you have leverage, options, and a real human in your corner. Today we're talking about something that almost nobody discusses until it's too late. Payment processing is the invisible backbone of modern commerce. It's the system that moves money from your customer's card to your bank account. And it works so seamlessly, so quietly, that most business owners never think about it. Until one day, it stops working. Or worse, it works against them. I've gathered 3 real, documented stories. Not made up, not exaggerated. Real businesses, real people, real damage. Some of them lost tens of thousands of dollars. Some were pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. And in at least one case, the federal government had to step in. These are the payment processing horror stories they never told you about when you signed up. Let's get into it.
Our first story comes from Hacker News, one of the most widely read technology forums on the internet, where in early January of 2023, a business owner posted a thread that sent shockwaves through the entrepreneurship community. The title? Stripe is holding over $400,000 of mine with no explanation. Here's what happened. This was a legitimate business. Multiple accounts with Stripe, generating real revenue, real customers, no fraud, no chargebacks, everything above board. Then came Cyber Monday. Business was booming, sales spiked, and that spike, that success, was the very thing that triggered a nightmare. On November 29th, 2022, Stripe sent an email. 6 accounts, all under review. All payouts immediately paused. No reason given, just under review. The business owner did everything right. They responded immediately. They submitted the documents Stripe requested, invoices, business records, verification. And then nothing. They submitted those same invoices again on December 1st. No confirmation, no response. On December 16th, nearly 3 weeks later, they spent over an hour in a chat session with Stripe support. The only outcome? Being asked for the exact same invoices again, for the 3rd time. Christmas came and went. The money was still frozen. Suppliers were waiting, employees were waiting, bills were due. On December 27th, they spent 2 full hours on the phone with Stripe. Same result. Vague responses, accounts under review, no timeline, no specifics. At this point, over $400,000 was sitting in limbo. And then, something happened that should never have to happen. In frustration, the business owner posted the story publicly on Hacker News. The post went viral. Someone on the forum happened to be connected to a Stripe employee. They got a message through, and on December 31st, exactly 1 month after this started, the accounts were finally released. Not because Stripe found a policy violation, not because there was any fraud, because the story went viral online and embarrassed them enough to act. In Stripe's own internal response to the community, a company representative admitted, and I'm quoting here, "The lack of clear communication and the repetitive requests for information during the review process isn't good." That's their admission. Now here's what you need to understand about why this happened. Stripe, Square, PayPal, these are not traditional merchant accounts. They are what's called payment aggregators or payment facilitators. That means you, the business owner, are not actually the account holder. Stripe is. You are a sub-merchant operating under their umbrella, which means when their automated risk system flags your account, whether you did anything wrong or not, they have the contractual right to hold your funds for 90, 120, even 180 days, and you have very little recourse. This is not an isolated case. The Better Business Bureau's complaint file for Stripe contains hundreds of reports with the same pattern. Funds frozen for months, promised release dates that keep getting pushed back, support teams that go silent. One BBB complaint from January 2026 describes a business having $152,000 held, citing, quote, unsupportable risk. The business sold emergency survival gear, low dispute rate, no fraud, just an automated flag and a six-figure hold. 1 month, $400,000, zero communication. That's story one.
Our second story was covered by Arizona's Family, a CBS affiliate in Phoenix, and it involves a business owner from Gilbert, Arizona named Brandon Anderson. Brandon was excited. He'd been building his business, selling kitchen equipment, and had just landed his first major sale, a real milestone, a $25,000 transaction that was supposed to be the springboard to the next level. He processed the payment through Square, watched the notification come through, felt that rush that every entrepreneur knows, the moment when all the hard work starts to pay off. And then, Square deactivated his account. Same day. No warning, no explanation. Just an email saying his account had been deactivated and the $25,000 would be held for 90 days. Brandon tried to appeal. He tried to verify his account. Square's automated system said he passed verification and then denied him anyway. There was no option to appeal to a human being, no phone number, no person to talk to. After 90 days passed, Brandon received another email from Square. They were holding the money for another 30 days. Brandon had loans to service. He had business expenses tied to that sale. The uncertainty was destroying not just his finances, but his mental health. It was only after a local TV station, Arizona's Family, contacted Square on his behalf and launched an investigation that the funds were immediately released. Square never explained why the account was deactivated, never explained why the money was held. They just quietly released it once the cameras showed up. And Square told Brandon something that stuck with him. Maybe he should stop accepting credit cards altogether and go back to cash. Let that sink in. A payment processing company, whose entire business model depends on merchants processing cards, told a small business owner to just use cash. That story from Gilbert, Arizona aired in May of 2023. But here's what makes it so much worse. Brandon's case wasn't unique. It was happening at massive scale. In June of 2020, the New York Times broke the story that Square was withholding up to 30% of payments from thousands of merchants during the COVID-19 pandemic. Business owners told reporters they were being forced to lay off employees and miss mortgage payments because Square had placed reserves on their accounts, even when they had zero risky transactions flagged. More than 1,400 merchants signed a petition demanding Square stop withholding funds. One business owner told the Times that it felt like Square was using their money to keep Square afloat during the pandemic. And this is a critical point I want you to hear. When Square holds your money, they're earning interest on it. When Stripe holds your money, they're earning interest on it. When PayPal holds your money for 180 days, they are holding an interest-free loan funded by you, the merchant who earned that money through honest work. Their terms of service allow this. You agreed to it when you signed up. Most people never read those terms. That's story 2.
Now we get to the one that genuinely made my blood boil, because this is not an algorithmic problem. This is not an overzealous automated risk system. This is a company that deliberately, systematically, and repeatedly defrauded small business owners for years until the federal government stepped in and made them pay it back. In July of 2022, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, filed a lawsuit against a payment processing company called First American Payment Systems and two of its sales affiliates. The case was simple. First American had built a machine for trapping small businesses. Here's how it worked. Their sales agents would cold call small businesses, restaurants, retail shops, service businesses. They'd promise unbeatable rates, monthly fees as low as zero, and most importantly, they would verbally promise, you can cancel anytime, no fee, no problem. Sounds great, right? Except when the merchant actually signed up through First American's online enrollment system, they were signing a 3-year contract with a $495 cancellation fee buried in the fine print. The FTC found that First American deliberately designed their online enrollment to hide these terms. The key details, the 3-year commitment, the cancellation requirements, the automatic renewal clause, were buried in dense documents behind multiple hyperlinks. Not on the main screen, not where anyone would see them. Many of the targeted business owners had limited English proficiency. Sales were conducted in their native language. The paperwork was only in English. They trusted the salesperson's word. And that word was a lie. But wait, it gets worse. When merchants figured out the trap and tried to cancel, First American hit them with that hidden $495 fee. Some merchants refused to pay it. They called their bank. They put stop payment orders on the debits. And then, and this is the part that the FTC called out specifically, First American kept debiting their accounts anyway. But they changed the company name on the transaction. If a merchant put a stop payment on First American Payment Systems, the charge would show up under a completely different name, one they'd never seen before. The FTC called these zombie charges, charges that kept coming back even after merchants tried to kill them. This went on for years across thousands of businesses. The FTC ordered First American to pay back $4.9 million to harmed businesses and to stop its deceptive practices. And as of February 2025, the FTC sent checks to 5,588 small businesses, along with claim forms to more than 16,000 additional businesses who had enrolled with First American between 2017 and 2020. Nearly 22,000 businesses, all victims of the same scam. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but First American isn't Stripe or Square. This is a smaller company. This wouldn't happen with a big name. But that's exactly the mindset these companies are counting on. Because the truth is, the big names, the aggregators, can legally do things that are just as damaging through perfectly legal contract terms. And the smaller regional processors, some of them are worse than First American. As recently as May 2025, a law firm filed a federal class action lawsuit against another processor, NABCW, doing business as CWA Merchant Services, for systematically charging merchants undisclosed early termination fees and, in some cases, withholding merchant funds entirely without notice. The pattern never stops. Different names, same playbook. And that's story 3.
3 stories. 3 very different companies. But there's a common thread running through all of them. The business owner didn't understand who they were actually working with, or what that company had the legal right to do to them. So let me give you the education that nobody gave these business owners before they signed up. Number 1, understand the difference between an aggregator and a real merchant account. Stripe, Square, and PayPal are aggregators. They own the merchant account. You are a sub-merchant. That means they can freeze, hold, or terminate access to your funds based on their own risk calculations, without notifying you first, without explaining themselves, and sometimes without being able to even tell you when you'll get your money back. A dedicated merchant account, set up through a licensed ISO or payment professional where you are the actual account holder, gives you significantly more protection, more predictability, and more rights. Number 2,
watch for these red flags in a payment processing contract. If a salesperson is promising you rates that sound too good to be true, they probably are. Ask to see the Interchange Plus pricing structure. Ask what the markup is above interchange. If they won't tell you, walk away. If you see a contract that runs longer than 1 year, ask specifically about the early termination fee. Make them put it in writing. Make sure it matches what they said verbally. If you see language about automatic renewal, understand that if you don't cancel in writing within a specific window before your contract ends, you could be logged in for another term automatically. And if you see anything about processing reserves, ask exactly what percentage they can hold and for exactly how long. Number 3, never keep all your eggs in one payment basket. If you are running a business and Stripe, Square, or PayPal is your only way to collect money, you are one automated risk flag away from not being able to operate, period. I recommend every business owner have a backup payment method set up and ready to go, whether that's a secondary processor or, increasingly popular, a cash discount or dual pricing program. Let me explain those for a second because this is where I spend most of my time. A cash discount program gives customers a discount for paying with cash, while card payers cover the processing fee. Done compliantly, the business owner pays little to nothing in fees and has far more control over their payment environment. Dual pricing, which is similar, displays 2 prices on your menu or register, a cash price and a card price. Customers choose. You don't absorb the cost. These programs have been transformative for the small businesses I work with here in Louisiana and across the country. Not only do they eliminate most of the fee burden, they also reduce your dependence on any single aggregator. Because when you're managing your own processing costs intelligently, you have more options. You're not just defaulting to the cheapest looking app. If you want a free, honest second opinion on your current processing setup, that is exactly what I do. I represent multiple top processing firms so I can match you to the right fit instead of selling you one product. The link is in the description. Because here's the bottom line. Your payment processor is not your friend. They are a financial infrastructure company with their own risk tolerance, their own liability exposure, and their own terms of service written entirely in their favor. That doesn't mean they're evil, but it does mean that you, as a business owner, need to understand the game before you play it. The 3 business owners in today's stories didn't know the rules. They found out the hard way. You don't have to.
If this video changed the way you think about your payment setup, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. Every week, I cover topics exactly like this, real information about payment processing, merchant rights, and how small businesses can protect their cash flow and stop leaving money on the table. Next video, I'm getting into the hidden fees on your processing statement that you're probably paying right now without knowing it, and exactly how to read a statement so you can see what you're actually being charged. You're not going to want to miss that one. Until then, stay sharp, protect your business, and I'll see you in the next one.